The Denver Bears have been very, very good the last few seasons. It didn't always start out that way. But we finally, in season number 6, made it to the World Series, where we came up just short in a 7-game set versus the Royals. We had identical teams, but we did carry the hot bats all the way to the World Series, including Jesse Winker, who probably should have won MVP this season. And it was quite the disappointment that we couldn't get him that championship title, because he put on quite a show on his way to the World Series. We ended up defeating 2 great hitting teams, including the Washington Nationals, who early on in that series, I thought that they might beat us again, because 2 seasons ago they beat us in the wild card round, and they ended up advancing to the NLCS, where they eventually lost to the World Series Cubs. But in the offseason, going into season number 6, we signed Luis Arias. He definitely gave us a spark. We played against a couple of great teams in the playoffs, and honestly, our team was just built to win. And going forward in this series, that's what we're going to do. We're just going to continue to build this team as a winner and hopefully come out on top this time of a World Series. The Royals were a team that was built for one season, to be honest. They had a lot of guys that were under 1-year contracts. They definitely went for it all, and it definitely paid off. But for us, we drafted well in the first 5 seasons, including even last year. We had a decent draft, but what we did in the draft really set us up, because we had the flexibility to sign bigger free agents and not have to worry about signing them long term, because we know we had the short term options in our draft picks. So we head into the offseason going into season number 7, and we find out that Clayton Kershaw is retiring. That's a huge blow to the Dodgers. Now, believe it or not, he actually did retire in the low 80s overall. I mean, he was that good. So, you know, the Dodgers are a team that has been competing for first place with us, and they have really been the only team that has given us consistent competition for first place. So we are definitely going to not miss Clayton Kershaw, to be honest. Now, we head into this season going back to our old logo, and we will have the grays and then the maroons on the road. And then we will also make sure we have the gray pants as well. I like the gray look for the Denver Bears. Now, heading into this offseason, we have a ton of free agents, but we want to sign a couple of them. I want to just go over a couple of guys. Carlos Estevez is a guy that's been here since the inception of this series and has been very, very good. I was a big fan of Estevez because early on in the series, he was one of the few guys I can count on going to the bullpen. And then eventually he ended up losing his spot, and he played the entire year in season number 6 at the AAA level. Now, Giovanni Gallegos was a guy that I was actually very, very disappointed. Look at the numbers before he went to Denver. .91 whip, .06 whip, .09 whip. Came to the Bears and his whip skyrocketed. I'm not even sure why, but I won't be bringing him back. Eugenio Suarez played with the Denver Bears for 2 years. He gave us 2 very good years, and last year he kind of fell off a little bit, and it kind of showed in the playoffs. There were some clutch situations where he did not come through, but I will let him walk. And that's one of the things I was talking about earlier. We have drafted well to be able to cover for when these guys eventually leave. Derek Rodriguez has a soft spot in my heart because this guy has been with us the entire way. So I want to negotiate a contract with Derek Rodriguez. He's still 32. He's at 81 overall now. I switched his position from starting pitcher to relief pitcher probably 2 seasons ago, and his overall went up. It went up. It went down when I switched his position, but then since then it's gone up. It went from like 75 now to 81, which is incredible. Now, Luis Arias, we signed to that 1-year, $10 million deal. It's like $11 million actually, and he hit .239. Very, very disappointing, but he was excellent defensively. I don't want that to be swept under the rug, but I'm not interested in re-signing him. I think we have depth in the middle infield. Now, Jesse Winker, a different story. Career high in average, career high in on-base percentage, career high in slugging, career high in OPS, career high in stolen bases, career high in everything, including hits, home runs, you name it. He was incredible. And at age 33, I'm going to give him the contract extension he deserves. I am going to move him over to first base. He's asking for $18.8 million. we are going to give him $20 million a year. It will pay him until age 37. He has definitely been the face of this Bears team, and he's been the best player by far. And he comes through in clutch situations. He agrees to that deal, 4-year, $80 million. He will not hit free agency. And then Derek Rodriguez agrees to a restructured deal, 2-year, $9.8 million instead of the 2-year, $8 million I initially offered him. Now, I want you to pay attention to this here. Going into the offseason, Will Benson got traded to the Braves. Now, we are controlling the Bears. How did this happen? We ended up getting Jared Walsh and Andy White, but let's just check this out because I have no idea how this setting got changed, but trades were set to auto. I have no idea why. You see everything else is manual except scouting because I want the CPU to do scouting, but it was changed to auto. I have no idea how that could even happen, but Will Benson is gone just like that. So I wanted to go ahead and quit, but I already did the jerseys. I did a bunch of contract stuff, and at this point, I don't want to go back because I didn't save it. So I'm just going to go through with it. I guess we're just going to make it so that Will Benson demanded a trade and then the CPU just did it for us. So Jared Walsh, he is the newcomer here. At age 33, he is a lot older, but he's only signed to a 1-year deal. But he hit 249, 314 on base percentage as well, 27 home runs. So I guess he will replace that power that Eugenio Suarez is going to leave on the table. But he played the last 6 years with Atlanta. We'll see if he can repeat that production. It wasn't pretty, but at least he had the power. Andy White was the second guy we got in that trade, and he is just decent. He's not going to even play at the MLB level this year. Probably not for a couple of years. At 73 overall, I'm not sure what all we can do with him. So we head into free agency, and there are a lot of good pieces here. Now, I am really not interested in just signing the biggest star, but I do want to add some guys that will help us right away and guys that will contribute to a championship team. And we have a lot of starters right now on our squad that probably are starters. They won't, lose their spot. Let's just think of guys like Benito Ozuna, guys like Jesse Winker, guys like CJ Abrams, guys that are solidified starters that won't platoon at all. So we really don't need any huge pieces. One thing we do need, though, is relief pitching. And the reason why that is because Zach Little's been kind of disappointing. We signed Matt Foster in the offseason last year. He's been disappointing. And then we did not bring back Nick Goody. So that is going to bring up who should we bring? And Brusdar Graterol is the top guy on the board here at age 28. He is looking for $19.2 million a year, which is fair. He is a very good relief pitcher, and we have the budget to do so. So I will offer him exactly what he is asking for, 5 years, $96 million, and we'll see what he says about that offer. Now, the next position we need is third base because we did let Suarez go. The top third baseman is Alec Boehm. He is very, very good. Hit over 300 the last few years. He is incredible. But look who is back as a free agent, Nolan Arenado. He is 35 years old at this point, and just looking at his attributes, they are still good. But his stats, he hasn't hit very well the last few years, but maybe, just maybe, bringing him back to Denver will boost his stats and maybe give him that spark he needs. He is still excellent defensively, so we will offer him a 1-year, $7.5 million. That seems very cheap for Nolan Arenado at 90 overall, even though he's 35 years old. So I'm going to take that and hopefully bring back Arenado back to Denver, and we'll see what he can do at the hot corner. So like I pointed out earlier, the Royals did sign a lot of guys. Chris Bubich, though, goes over to the Dodgers. So they replaced Clayton Kershaw with Bubich. So this definitely accelerates what we should do for Brusdar Graterol, because look at the Washington Nationals. They go all the way in for Graterol, and this is a team that we just beat to get to the World Series. So we need to match that offer. We offer the exact same contract as the Nationals, and I think that's what Graterol is waiting for us to match that. He could get more money for more years going to the Blue Jays, but he decides to sign with the Denver Bears. I love this deal because it's going to take us until probably age, 34 years old, and he's probably still going to be in the upper 80s overall by the time his contract is up. He had an excellent 2 seasons the last 2 years with the Dodgers. We steal him away from one of the best teams in the NL and our divisional foe. And Nolan Arenado also signed. So welcome back, Arenado, to the Bears. Now here are our rankings across each position. We are now second in starting pitching, first in bullpen. That is amazing. Looking at everywhere else, center field is 21st and right field is 23rd. Right field is 23rd because Will Benson left, but I actually think that we could be a bit better, especially offensively, with Jared Walsh playing in the outfield and also having Cale Helfrich also get out there. Zach Veen, who started our season in our series, I should say, as the top prospect, he will also rotate in. We also have Brian Reynolds. Zion Storm could play in the outfield, but I don't see him being there. And then Benito Ozuna in center field. So I'm not really that worried. Now, our starting lineup will look like this. Ozuna, Arenado, Winker, and Walsh. The top 4 hitters, that's a scary lineup to face. And then Chris Stewart, Brian Reynolds, and then Zion Storm finally gets his opportunity to start at second base. He will actually start over Brian Rocchio, who is still in our organization. If we really needed to make a move and boost our team, Rocchio is a guy that is definitely available. Now, versus left-handed pitching, this is what it will look like. Benito Ozuna will lead off again, but play in left field as Brian Reynolds plays in center field. Willingham will play at first. This will give Jesse Winker some days off. I definitely want to rest him because I need him to be at full energy on most days. Nolan Arenado will be at the 4th spot. Chris Stewart, Cale Helfrich will platoon in right field with Walsh, giving him a day off as well because the older guys do need their rest. Our starting rotation will pretty much look the same. Severino, Soroka, Maxwell, Coffer. And then I will have DeAnthony Pierre at that last spot. And the reason why I will have Pierre here is because in 20 games starting last year, he went 6-5, but he actually had 13 quality starts. Very good. A WAR of 1.8, WHIP of 118, and an ERA below 3. So I'm going to keep him there. That is subject to change. Obviously, Derek Rodriguez could be a starter. Also, Mike Salucci could be a starter. So we will see what happens. But our bullpen pretty much looks the same. Derek Rodriguez will be at the MLB level this year. He kind of went up and down the last couple of years. And then Jordan Hicks will man up that closing pitcher role. Now, our contracts going into season number 7 will be pretty much an all in or nothing, because if you just see this, Luis Severino will be a free agent next year. Ryan Reynolds will be a free agent next year. Jared Walsh, we only have him for 1 year. Nolan Arenado, we just signed him for a 1-year deal. Ryan McMahon will be a free agent. So we have a lot of guys that will be free agents next year, including Ramel Coffer, but I'm definitely looking to get him locked up long term, especially since Luis Severino's probably going to be hitting free agency. And we'll see. I don't know who we're going to bring back, but we'll have to see going forward. But we have a lot of free agents. So as we hop into season number 7, it's going to be a ride because we have one of the best rosters in the MLB. And right away on opening day, we take on the Arizona Diamondbacks, who signed David Peterson last year in free agency. He gets the opening day nod again, and right away he gives up a 2-run homer to Muhammad Willingham to open this season. Willingham up for a second at bat, and he goes deep again. 2 for 2. Ozuna at that leadoff spot is such a great player because when he gets on board, it's probably a sure bet that he could steal a base and get brought in. Ryan McMahon, who starts at second versus lefties because he has that awesome power versus left, goes deep as well. And now we're into the 4th inning. Willy Adames, who we actually debated signing a few years ago, he can't get anything done for the Diamondbacks in that inning. And now we move on to the 6th. And here's McMahon again. A 3-run home run. McMahon and Willingham both hit 2 home runs in the opener. How about that? It is now 8-0. How about that cushion? And then Brian Reynolds adds 1 more in the 7th. 3 home runs in this game for the Denver Bears. As now we move on to the last 2 innings of this game. Cale Helfrich, starting in right field, gets on base. You got to love to see that because we're going to need Helfrich to really step up defensively as well. But we move on to the 9th inning, and Severino is still on the mound. And he goes the complete game, 11 strikeouts, 5 hits given up, 1 walk. I mean, just absolutely dominant here. David Peterson gets credited with the loss, and he only struck out 2 batters in 4 innings pitched. I mean, we just absolutely dominated in that game. Now we move on into the season now, and we face the Los Angeles Angels, who early on in this franchise actually did trade Shohei Ohtani. They actually did not trade him. They actually let him walk in free agency. They did not re-sign him. He ended up signing with the A's, and now here is Mike Trout's last couple of years with the Angels, because I'm not really sure what they're going to do with him, but it's definitely intriguing to have Mike Trout away from the Angels, because it seems like they have wasted his career even in this franchise. Here is Brian Reynolds at the plate here, trying to get us a run on the board, and he cannot give us the lead here in the 7th inning. And we continue this game, and Trez Jenkins on the mound, and he gives up a solo home run in that inning. And now it is 6-5 as we move on to the bottom of the 8th inning. And it looks like the Angels have a couple of base runners facing Matt Foster, but Foster does get out of that as we move on to the 9th inning. And Josh Hader, who signed a 5-year deal with the Angels last offseason, ends up getting the Angels the win in this game. And they go on to win 6-5. We dropped to 2-3 to start the season, but that doesn't last too long. We start to win a lot of games, including a 5-game win streak to start the season right in the middle of the month of May. And now here we are, I should say April, and now here we are facing the Dodgers. And you can just see the numbers here. The Dodgers have a very good offense still, but they are pretty much keeping up with us in this division now. Here we are on the road, Ramel Coffer on the mound. Like I said, looking for that contract extension this year. We'll see what he can do here in this one. Here is Donovan Casey at the plate. He does not get on, and that brings up the next batter. This one's going to be a fly out into foul territory. Brian Rocchio playing third base today. 2 outs in this inning. That's going to bring up the next batter. That's going to be a fly ball to right field. This one will be a can of corn for Brian Reynolds out in right field, and it will be the 3rd out of the inning. As we move on to the 9th inning, Mookie Betts up to the plate now for the 101st pitch of the game for Coffer. This one's hit deep to center field. This one's got carry, and Ozuna cannot snag this one over the wall. It's going to be a home run for the Dodgers, and it will be a 2-1 game. So we actually keep Coffer in the game. He faces Max Muncy this time. Swing and miss. That one will be low. As now that brings up the next batter here with 1 out. And this one will be a fly ball to center field. Ozuna will be under this one for the 2nd out of the 9th. But now, let's see what we can do. Can we shut it down with a runner on first base? Jordan Hicks in for the save, and it will be a swinging strike 3. We get the win versus the Dodgers here. Coffer continues to pitch well in this series. He goes almost a complete game, 8 2/3. And he does get the win in this one. He gets player of the game as well, 6 strikeouts, only giving up a few hits to the Dodgers. And here we go into the month of May. You can see the month of April was very good for us. We are 21-10. And now here we are in the first week of the month of May, and we are on top of the division by over 4.5 games. And we get a notification. Our assistant GM wants us to take a look at a waiver wire pickup. This is Jeffrey Ramos, an outfielder who looks very, very comparable to Ronald Acuna. I'm not saying that he is Ronald Acuna, but he has very good hitting attributes. His stats are very, very good. He gets on base at a very high clip, 386 on base percentage, and he also has a very good arm in the outfield. At age 27, he's a guy that I'm very, very interested in. So I'm going to put a waiver claim on him to see if we get him at 81 overall and 27 years old. He's exactly what we're looking for, and he actually does get claimed by the Denver Bears. So let's just look at the outfield. We have Benito Ozuna. Now we have Jeffrey Ramos, who's hitting 295 this year. We have Brian Reynolds. We have Zach Veen. We also still have Hitor Takahashi, who's at the AAA level. He's still in the mid-80s as far as overall. And then we have the young Cale Helfrich, and I think that Helfrich right now is going to get the short end of the stick. He's still 25 years old, still pretty young, but we will move him down because we need to free up a roster spot, and we will see what the young guy can do in his debut as we face the Houston Astros. They are 20-15. Jeffrey Ramos will hit in the 6th spot today, but I'm interested to see how he will do. His hitting zones are all blue. I'm not really sure why, because his stats do not reflect that, but we'll see what he can do on the road here in his debut at the Astros at Minute Maid Park. We'll face Jose Urquidy on the mound, who was 4-1 to start the year, .98 whip, so a tough start here for the young Ramos. And we'll see what he can do here at the plate. So here he is hitting .295 on the year, .828 OPS, 2 homers up to this point. And we'll see what he can do here facing Urquidy. 1-2 pitch on his first at bat. That one will be a strike 3 looking. He strikes out on his first at bat. We will only focus on Ramos in this game. He is 0 for 1 facing Urquidy again, down 1-2 again. This one's low. He won't let this one go by. It was right on the bottom half of the strike zone right there. It will just be a fly out to right field. And now we simulate to his next at bat, but you could just see the Astros are absolutely putting it on us here, and we stood no chance of this one. They end up putting 10 runs up as Urquidy pitching still on the mound, a shutout, only giving up 1 run up to this point. And here is Ramos with his 3rd at bat in the 8th inning. He gets fooled on that slider. That one will be a swinging strike 3. And the Astros end up beating the Bears in this one. An absolutely devastating loss, 10-0. As we go into the 9th inning, we add on 1. And we end up losing this one 10-1. Incredible game by the Astros. Well, we get through the month of May and we start to keep winning. And look at the Oakland Athletics. We sweep them in a 2-game set. We beat the Atlanta Braves in 2 of 3. We end up dropping a couple of games to the Giants. But we're still on top of the division, doubling our amount of losses with our wins, 30-16. And Mike Soroka at this point is 5-0. Now, remember last time Soroka went on this type of run, it was his first year with us. He was a Cy Young runner-up, and he was excellent. He didn't even make the All-Star team that year. So here we face the San Diego Padres, a team that has still not been able to get over that hump in this division. It's been the Dodgers, and when it has been the Dodgers and the Padres as the top 2 teams, the Dodgers have always took it. Now, last year, all 3 teams made the playoffs, the Bears, the Padres, and the Dodgers. The Dodgers ended up winning the wild card game, and now the Padres looking to kind of take over for the Dodgers. No more Clayton Kershaw. They're hoping that they can make their run. So here in the bottom of the 1st inning, here is Dominic Smith at the plate. He goes to left field. He signed with the Padres a offseason ago. This one will be a hit to left field. And now here with guys on 1st and 2nd, here's DJ Stewart at the plate. He also signed last free agency. And this one will be a pitch in the dirt, and it will be a pass, not a pass ball, a wild pitch. And now they have runners in scoring position. Bobby Bradley at the plate now. He hits 1 too short, and this one will get us out of this inning with no damage done. On to the 3rd inning. This is going to bring up the middle of their lineup, and here is a deep fly ball. It gets over the head of Benito Ozuna playing in left field, and it will be a stand-up double. But the Denver Bears do have a 2-run cushion as that brings up the 3-hitter Dominic Smith again. Ground ball up the middle. This one should be easy for CJ. He throws on the first. Low throw, but it will be an out at first base. 2 outs as Soroka faces DJ Stewart again. 0 for 1. High pitch. This one will just be a fly ball. Winker playing in right field today. And that one will be another easy pop out. Soroka does get out of that little jam. Bottom of the 6th inning now. Dominic Smith back at the plate. He hits one up the middle this time. This one gets through the infield, and it will be a base hit for the Padres as now they have a runner on first base. No outs. DJ Stewart, the 4-hitter, back at the plate. High fly ball in the infield. Soroka has looked good in this one. A couple of base runners have been in scoring position today, but looks good so far. Guy on first base, 1 out. Bobby Bradley up to the plate now. Ground ball to second. This one should be a tailor-made double play. Throw on to short, on to first, and it will be an overthrow by Abrams. There's just these weird sequences where you see Abrams make some errors like that, and it just doesn't make sense because Abrams is excellent defensively. And then the next batter comes up. That's Machado. Line out to right field. It will be snagged, though, by Mohamed Willingham before it reaches the outfield. Excellent athleticism by our former #1 draft pick. Just remember that. Now on to the top of the 7th now. Looking to get some insurance on the board for our starting pitcher Soroka, looking to get him to 6-0 on the season. This one will be a fly ball to left field by Ryan McMahon. Both runners will hold up. Abrams at the plate, hitting in that 8 spot where he has hit this entire series since he's been a starter, and he will fly out to right field as well. So 2 outs, and I decide to actually pull Soroka from the game because with a runner on second base, I want to see if we can get some insurance for the win possibly. As we go to the dugout and we go to Jarrett Walsh. We signed him in the offseason. This is our first look at him. He's hit 7 home runs this year, hitting .288. So now facing Gallegos. This one will be a hit up the middle, and our former pitcher gives up a RBI single as Winker makes it to third base. And it's going to be a 3-0 game here for the Denver Bears. And good at bat that time from Walsh. He was down 1-2 in that count, but goes up the middle. Benito Ozuna, can he keep this inning going? He gets a pitch up in the zone. He drives this one deep to right field. It does. Get over the right fielder's head. It bounces over the wall as well. And Ozuna hitting the ball well this year. And they go to the bullpen and bring in Jarlin Garcia. How about guys that used to pitch for us? Jarlin Garcia is a guy that we had for 1 season. He's going to face Brian Reynolds with runners on second and third base. 2 outs, still in the 7th inning. And Brian Reynolds absolutely destroys one. That one is gone. 7-0 game, just like that, in Denver. Puts it on San Diego late in this game. And it looks like Soroka might get his 6th win after all. Jarlin Garcia leaves one right over the middle of the plate. And Brian Reynolds just does not miss. Willingham up to the plate now. He excels at hitting versus left-handed pitching. He turns on one. That one's hit to the gap. This inning continues here as Willingham is on to second with a double. And that's going to bring up Nolan Arenado, who hits in that 4 spot. And he excels at hitting with runners in scoring position on a 3-1 pitch. This one's up in the zone, way out of the zone. It drives in a runner. And that one will be another RBI in the 7th inning. We have opened the floodgates. 6 runs here in the 7th. As this can continue, Chris Stewart at the plate now over the middle. Good timing right over the plate, but it will just be a fly ball to center field. But we end up winning this game, giving Soroka his 6th win on the season. 6-0 for him. What a season he's having. What a season our offense is having as well. As we just look at the stats here, we are 3rd in batting average. We are 2nd in triples. We are actually 8th in home runs as a team. I mean, we are absolutely hitting the ball well. Now, remember what our rankings were going into the season. We were actually 28th in power. That doesn't look like 28th in power. We're 1st in, like I said, tied for 1st in triples, 8th in home runs. We're 2nd in on-base percentage. We are hitting the cover off of the ball while also giving up the least amount of hits and being 4th in the MLB in ERA. I mean, we are just having an all-around great season. So we get through the month of June here, and we find out some terrible news. In the first game in the beginning of this month, Benito Ozuna breaks his arm, being out for 2 to 3 months. A devastating blow, especially for Ozuna, because he was actually getting the most votes in the NL for left fielders. He was going to be an all-star starter, so this is definitely a dagger to the heart for Ozuna. I definitely feel for him. But now we have to turn to Cale Helfrich again. We move him back up as we move to the beginning of the month, and you know what that means? It's draft time. So we start the draft at pick number 28. The number 1 pick ends up being Willie Montes. Now, I hope that MLB The Show does kind of throw in kind of fixes here. You know, there are first-round draft picks that end up being good very early, but very seldom. A lot of guys end up being like 50s overall, low 40s, even 40s overall with high A potential, but those guys don't end up being at the MLB until like season 6, season 7. But who's actually playing franchise that long, except for me, I guess? But who's actually lasting that long in their franchises? It doesn't always take that long to develop first-round picks, so I'm hoping that, You know, sometimes they will have blue chippers that are like 70s overall that are A potential, or once in a good while, like once every 10 years, even 80 overall, who knows. So we do end up going through this draft, and what I'm seeing is that it's just not a deep draft this year. Our first pick ended up being Juan Baroa, and we did not have that much scouting on him, but he was a high 80 potential guy. Ends up being 77 potential, not who we thought he would be. Sidney Espinoza ends up being a catcher, but only 46 overall. And this is what I'm talking about. I mean, 46 overall, it's going to take that guy like literally a decade to even get up to the MLB level. Enrique Rodriguez, 61 overall, 85 potential. He was probably our best draft pick at age 21. He will still need a few years to develop. And even the way we are developing guys, I mean, who's to say it's going to take like 6 to 8 years for him to get to the MLB. And then our last few picks, I'm not even sure they will even make the MLB roster at any point. And they will just be draft picks who kind of are lifelong minor league guys. So in the month of June, we are still about 20 games over 500. We end up playing the Milwaukee Brewers in this set. We're 40-21 at this point, about 60 games in. We end up winning this one. Arenado has a good game right there. Kale Helfrich gets back into the starting lineup. He starts in center field versus the Seattle Mariners at 30-36. He goes 1 for 5, but 4 RBIs. He had a home run, a grand slam in this one, as he is hitting .253. Then we face the Dodgers, who are 43-34, about 9 games over 500. We are still 20 games over 500. Coffer gets his 9th win of the season, pitching 5 innings, 3.27 ERA. He is doing quite well. And then at the end of the month, we face the San Diego Padres, who, like I said, are still fighting. I think they might just have to rebuild. They are 5 games below 500. And our June looks much like our previous months. We just win more games than we lose, and we're still 20 games over 500. So we are at the halfway point of the season here in the season 7 documentary, and we want to get through these seasons, at least the regular seasons, quickly. I want to put more emphasis on the playoffs more than the regular season, because we have a good team. We know we're going to be good. And I want to show you guys what it looks like in kind of an accelerated format, a little longer of a video, but I like these documentary style videos as well. Ryan McMahon is hitting .312, Ramos hitting .310. How about the pickup that he has been? And that was a good suggestion by our assistant GM to pick him up. He has been tremendous in 200 at-bats, hitting over 300. Chris Stewart hitting .292, and Rafael Marchand is hitting .291. That's a dream scenario for the catcher position. CJ Abrams hitting .291, Jesse Winker hitting .278, but still on base percentage at .395. He is hitting just amazing. Benito Ozuna is going to be hurt for the next couple months, but he was hitting .276. Jared Walsh is hitting .271 in his first year with the Bears. I imagine that this is what we would imagine him to be here this season, hitting about .270. Hopefully, we are praying for .280, but he will probably not get there. Kale Helfrich hitting .264. He's hitting pretty decently, but Muhammad Willingham just cannot get over that hump. I don't know what it is, but hitting only .248, and we expected him, especially with his attributes, to be a dominant player, but he just has not been that. Zion Storm, who is rotating at second base in that platoon role with Ryan McMahon, hitting below .240 as well. But pitching-wise, nobody is really having a bad season. We are actually doing excellent. Maxwell, 110 whip, he's 6-3. Soroka is still undefeated at 8-0. Luis Severino is 6-5. Not getting the wins that he wants, but still putting up the numbers as he should. 108 whip. Ramel Coffer has a higher whip, 135, and so is Anthony Pierre, 137 whip. And I think I might be swapping out Pierre and Salucci as we look at the rest of our relief guys. Atlas Luntich, 151 whip. We definitely want to get his innings down because he's not pitching that well. But Mike Salucci, 2 ERA, .97 whip. I mean, the guy just can pitch well. I mean, no matter what role you put him in, we have him in a relief role right now, 36 innings pitched. He's just doing absolutely great. But I want to move him back to the starting rotation, and I want to swap out he and DeAnthony Pierre. But right now, I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give him that second half of the season as a starter there in the bottom half of the rotation, and he will play there for the remainder of the season. So at 50-33 or 50-30, you can just see we're on top of the NL West, and it looks like we could run away with this in the second half of the season. Hopefully get to our first 100-win season of our series here. And I loved what I seen from this team in the first half, hitting .268 and having a .340 ERA. Pretty good, great fielding percentage as well. And we are just rolling right now, and I look forward to the second half of the season. Hope you guys enjoyed this documentary style. I want to have this as the way it goes in the regular season for these next few years, and I kind of want to play it out, see how we do. So hit subscribe, hit that like button, stay tuned, let's get it, let's go.